Are you a QA engineer dreaming about working in Germany? What if I told you that you could earn 60 to 85,000 euro per year working just 40 hours a week and build your career with industry leading tech companies? This is not just a dream, it's happening right now for hundreds of Indian QA engineers. Meet Akash Choudhary, a successful QA engineer who moved from India to Germany and is now living this reality. In today's episode, he's going to reveal everything you need to know about making this journey. We are covering it all: the exact salary range you can expect, step-by-step visa process that actually works, and required technical skills that German companies are desperately looking for, job search strategies that got across multiple callbacks from the recruiters, and the truth about living in Germany, both good and bad. But here's what makes this episode so special. Akash is not just sharing the theory. He had gone through this entire process by himself, and he is about to share the exact strategies that work for him, including which job portals to use, how to prepare for German interviews, and whether you are really need to learn German or not. Plus, stay till the end where Akash will reveal what is it like living in Germany and how much can be your daily expenses. If you are serious about building your career in Germany, this is the most important video you will watch this year. Let's dive in, and don't forget to subscribe to Tech Unfiltered with Manish. Let's go. Hey Akash, welcome to the show. And before diving deep, can you introduce yourself to our viewers? How you have started your journey and how you end up into the QA, and what's your current designation, and where currently you are working on?
Uh, Thank you very much for allowing me to come on your show, Paresh. And I'm working as a QA since the very beginning of my career. I started as a manual QA, and I'm working mostly into kind of a full stack QA. But it's more like a daily responsibility of QA. Even if I have a 10 to almost 11 years of experience, but I'm still working as a partially individual contributor. So it's a
Okay.
full stack QA, but you also automate test cases. You also write manual test cases. You test everything from scratch. I moved Germany like 4 years ago. In India, my last company was PTM, where I was a
Okay.
QA lead. So the transition was from manual to automation. Then I got some senior responsibilities. Then I moved to Germany with a job offer from India. So yeah, the current designation is kind of full stack, that you have to do everything: API automation, you have to do UI automation. You are also involved in the DevOps task. I'm also involved in the developer PR reviews and all that kind of things. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire thing that I do.
Okay, so great. So before getting to the Germany part, can you take us back to the beginning? Like, how is your career into the India, and what are you doing? How you started your career? What's your first company? And then how you progressed to the Paytm, as you have told. So what's your journey into the India?
Yeah, so I started my career from 2014. I
Okay.
finished my engineering and I got my first job from campus. The first
Mm-hmm.
company was Yatra.com, which is an
Okay.
OTA in India. I think it's the second number OTA right now.
Mm-hmm.
I started as a manual QA. Then after 2 or 3 years working as a manual QA, I started learning test automation. The transition wasn't that easy, I would say, because initially when you start reading programming and all that stuff, it's very daunting, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like, anything can't that easily help you. Even like if you go back 10 years ago, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
there was even ChatGPT or anything. Just ask your question that I want to learn Selenium, give me a roadmap. So it's
Mm-hmm.
impossible. You just ask
Right.
people, and
Mm-hmm.
usually they don't have time, right? India has a really crunchy, like a very packed work culture. So I started reading some books, started learning myself. Then I got an opportunity to switch my first job after 4 years to Paytm. So
Mm-hmm.
I only worked in two companies in India on a span of around 7 years. The first was Yatra and the second was Paytm.
Yeah.
Paytm gave me partially a role of automation and partially a role of like an indirect, like a hidden role of a lead, because the whole
Okay.
team was very, like 2 3 years experience, very fresh
Mm-hmm.
kind of people. The part of Paytm I joined was Paytm Mall, which is like discontinued like 6 years ago. It doesn't exist now. I think it was discontinued continued as soon as I joined.
Okay.
Uh, Yeah. The biggest project that I have done in India was FASTag. Because before this, what happened with Paytm Bank last year, that
Mm-hmm.
RBI caused some restrictions and eventually they had to shut down all those things.
Right.
Before that, Paytm Bank was the biggest FASTag provider.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were far ahead from the even the second contender.
Right.
So that was the biggest project that I can say you can actually see it working. Paytm FASTag, that was from backend entirely it was tested. Some part of that was entirely tested by me, and then some part was totally other teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, like, how much of experience do you have into like India when you were working with the Paytm? Like, how much time you have spent into the QA industry?
In India, I spent total 7 years in QA, and I was always QA. Like since the beginning, I was always QA.
So you were like working from 7 years into the QA, kind of working as a lead. So, what comes into your mind? You thought of like, should you move to Germany, or is it something like you just need to move from India, or have you specified it to the Germany or some other countries? So, how your thoughts goes on to like leaving India and settling into the another country?
So the thought is started usually by looking the friends I have. I
Mm-hmm.
have few connections in Yatra, like really smart and hardworking people. They were mostly from like good colleges, the tier A colleges of India.
Okay.
So some of them moved to, I think, Netherlands, and some of them moved to Germany, and specifically Berlin in Germany, because it's easy when you don't know German language. Berlin is your only option. So when I talked to them, I came here. First, I came here as a tourist in
Okay.
2019, end of 2019, like just at the beginning of Corona. I remember when I was having a New Year celebration in Berlin, I heard that there is some virus in
Mm-hmm.
China and countries are slowly restricting it, but there was nothing like big thing.
Right.
Then I thought when I went back from Germany to India as a tourist, then
Mm-hmm.
I thought I might try it if people are getting job. Like if you hear a story on YouTube that a guy working in Amazon Bangalore got a job in Germany, you can't relate with it. You don't know the guy, right?
Right.
But you know that I worked with this person on a project. He was just sitting next to me and he went to Germany with a job offer. Then it kind of a different thing. It looks like I can do it too. But I did not think I can do it too. I just thought maybe let's try.
Yeah.
Right. So I started applying. And I think that thought became very strong because as soon as I applied, I got call back. Like after 5, 6 casual applications, I got a reply that let's do an HR interview. So that gave me an impression like this is not impossible,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Right.
might you might get messed up in this interview. You might get rejected 10 times, but it doesn't look like impossible because I got a call back. If I would always get 10 out of 10 rejections, then I will think, okay, maybe he did something he's not telling us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe he paid a consultancy or something. So then I got a call back. Of course, I got rejected. I even
Mm-hmm.
showed all this in my videos. That it's like endless rejections. There is a video.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then I started getting more calls, more rejections, and then suddenly COVID came. But yeah, but
Okay.
then the story goes away. But yeah, I mean, this was the first thought that gave me an idea that this is not impossible. You can
Yeah. Right.
definitely do this.
Okay. So I think like now at that time you had a you can say you had a kind of plan to move to the Germany. You have a destination in your mind like I need to move here. I need to do transition from India to Germany. So what goes into your mind? Like what is your like preparation for it? How you planned for it? And because it's not easy to move out from your current base or like there are like lot of differences when you work in India and when you work in Germany. There might be some skill differences also. So what is your plan kind of to move to that city or move to that country when you were in India?
Yeah. So when I first started applying, I had no plan because I was
Hmm.
always working in India. So I just applied the way you apply in India, right? You
Right.
submit your application. I don't think I even applied in Paytm via LinkedIn. Maybe
Hmm.
some usually I'm not sure if this is still a thing. Usually HRs call you in India, right?
Yeah,
You
right.
apply on
Uh,
Naukri.com and then they call you. Okay, you
Exactly.
applied for this. It looks like blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you can come for the interview in office.
Mm-hmm.
It's different here, but the only way I can do it, I can apply from LinkedIn, because there is no way to directly reach to the HR when you're applying abroad.
Right.
So when I applied on LinkedIn, the first impression was very similar to India. Like, you need a resume. I had this assumption that 2 pages resume and too much information, like, like, write everything
Yeah.
that you're doing. It's a thesis.
Right.
So then I mean, I'm not sure how I got those initial calls with that resume, but slowly over time I understood the first thing I prepared was resume, that it has to be up to the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just tell us what
Right.
you are doing. Don't craft long sentences.
Mm-hmm.
For explaining those sentences, you will get an interview, right? What you did with Selenium, you can explain in the interview, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make sense to explain that in resume.
Yeah. Perfectly.
So those things I learned first. Second thing I learned is the way you communicate in the HR interview. I was
Mm-hmm.
totally talking the way I will talk to an Indian HR. Like, you have an opening. I have worked for this XYZ years with Selenium, this XYZ years for the rest assured, and the HR was confused
Mm-hmm.
because they were also looking like a talkative person, not only about work. You're not a machine, right?
Yeah.
That I realized over time, that there is another hidden soft skill, like how talkative you are.
Mm-hmm.
Then I prepared the soft skills, like how I explain myself in the HR round, so that it looks like the guy is actually interested in us. He's not interested in just tech. He actually wants to join the company, because what matters is specifically in German companies, which I felt that you fit the vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
That goes with the famous clubbing culture, that you go to a club, you get rejected because you don't fit the vibe.
Right. Right.
So that's more like that. You have to fit the vibe. That I felt. So the first preparation I did resume, second preparation how to explain, right? You got an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity, how to pitch for yourself. And the third thing I prepared was mostly tech.
Okay.
That I got rejected because of some tools they were asked. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have done something 50-50, but I'm not sure. And then I got rejected. Then I thought, okay, just take 1 week or 2 week break. Don't apply, and then just summarize all the tools, all the tech they need from the job descriptions, because mostly
Yep.
they repeat
Mm-hmm.
every,
Yep.
like, even if I start applying in India now,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I can list 5-6 common keyword tech tools that will always repeat in a job description, unless
Exactly.
some company XYZ, they suddenly found a tool that only they are using. I'm not going to prepare that one. That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So then I prepared my technical skills for,
Okay.
and I think right now it might be different. If you, let's say, start applying now,
Mm-hmm.
you won't get that much time to technically prepare if you're not already prepared. How I got time, because there was a COVID break.
Yeah.
So I used that COVID time to actually learn anything that is related to QA. You
Mm-hmm.
don't, I just made one thumb rule, that when I'm giving an interview and if they're asking me something, I'm not going to say, okay, I haven't worked with this.
Mm-hmm.
The best answer I can give, the least expectation I had with myself is, okay, I have worked with this personally.
Mm-hmm.
My company doesn't use it, of course.
Yep.
That gives them an idea, like, okay, that's also fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how to drive a car personally, you can also drive for company. So that's the last part of preparation.
Okay.
So first, you have to understand how attracting is your resume.
Mm-hmm.
Even the aesthetic matters. The formatting, the structure, if it looks really jarring, the HR would be confused, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can only talk about Germany. Then these people are really professional. If you left spelling mistakes, I mean, it totally depends, but
Mm-hmm.
that's disrespecting, kind of. And you don't even have time to craft a resume.
Right. So, like, if we talk about like a bit about like what are the skills you have prepared for at that time, and if we compare it to nowadays, do you see there is like a bit of like evolution in those tools or evolution on those skills? And what are the skills which are currently in demand in the like Germany market?
Yeah. So the first question, like what tools I prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very, very like proficient in API testing when I was started applying. As I said, like the fast tech project that I tested, it
Mm-hmm.
was mostly the API part.
Right.
And I don't think at that time I ever worked with APM.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. Maybe personally I did, but professionally I never did. And so I'm just giving a first time removing the tools that were not necessary as per my expectation. So APM was not necessary. I couldn't apply to, like, I couldn't see any JD which was very strongly talking about APM.
Mm-hmm.
Mobile testing is totally different thing.
Yep.
I think I started learning mobile testing because that talks about too much about, like Android, Charles proxy,
Mm-hmm.
controller and all that stuff. Very lightly I learned, then I figured, okay, this is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to learn this, it's not possible to learn within 2-3 weeks.
Right.
And I'm going to keep on learning, and then suddenly there would be a new job description or a new opening, then I will be messed up. So the first thing I would suggest is understand what you're good at
Mm-hmm.
and which part of domain of testing you belong to. And second thing that I understood, and I even talk about whenever I talk about QA, do not separate yourself based on layers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mobile testing is totally different thing. It's not a layer, but
Right.
front end and back end are layers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a QA in Germany, if you're applying in Germany, if
Mm-hmm.
you are a QA and if you suddenly say in interview, okay, I'm a front end QA, so it's
Okay.
confusing. What do you mean by you are a front end QA? You don't give a about the APIs or something like, or you don't even care what's happening there. So there is nothing like front end QA. Or there is nothing like API tester. That is the first thing
Mm-hmm.
I learned after first rejections, because I talked about I'm an API tester.
Mm-hmm.
And the HR was like, but we want you to take responsibility of anything that's on the table. How
Right.
do you define it? We will define it, right? So I was like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but I'm an API tester right now. And then she was like, okay, see you next year. So then I thought, okay, this doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are an automation QA, the tools that you have to, like, you cannot say I'm an automation QA without, like, there is a solid assumption. If you are in test automation QA, you have to know API
Mm-hmm.
automation.
Yeah.
You have to know UI automation. You may know mobile automation. You may or may not know mobile automation, because not every company has mobile apps, right? So
Right.
it's totally fair that you have never worked with mobile automation, app automation, because your company never had any apps.
Mm-hmm.
But your company will always have a website and it will always have APIs. So that means you must test them and then you must automate them.
Mm-hmm.
So Selenium, rest assured, I always knew they were the
Mm-hmm.
two who actually helped me initially. Later on, I realized, okay, this country specifically, they are not very big Java fans in
Mm-hmm.
testing. Like there is a very huge scope of Java developers.
Yep.
But I have also very personally felt they really like when you use JavaScript in test automation, because that
Mm-hmm.
allows front end developers to contribute.
Right.
If I'm using Selenium with Java, I totally killed the opportunity for the front end developer to ever contribute.
Mm-hmm.
And second, I killed the opportunity that they can fix it when I'm absent, right? So they really love when you say, okay, I can do Cypress with JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
And they will absolutely love it when you will say, I can do Playwright with TypeScript.
Yep.
They might or might not love it when you say Selenium with anything. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Selenium has very, like very mixed respect.
It's mostly like kind of like test centric ecosystem if you go into the Selenium, but if you talk about like Cypress or Playwright, they are more focused towards the developer also. Cypress is just like JavaScript based, and Playwright also more friendly with TypeScript and JavaScript. It allows to collaborate more with the developer, and it's certainly like JavaScript have eaten up all the, you can say, front end technologies for website, for mobile applications. There are like lot of frameworks. You can say Vue.js or React Native, and developers love those JavaScript frameworks.
Yeah. So the first question was what text I prepared. I don't think that at that time Playwright was that famous. It just started, like revolutionizing in 2020,
Right.
but it wasn't there in 21. I think it really boosted last year.
Yeah.
So I started with Selenium, rest assured, of course, with Java, both of them. And most of the interviews were focused around these two. I don't remember anyone ever asked even a single question about Selenium, but they asked questions about rest assured.
Okay.
And they asked question from like the programming principles, but not specifically focused on Java,
Right.
right? That there are some good things you should follow in every language. Those kind of questions like solids.
Right.
And the tools I will suggest if you're preparing now, then of course I will definitely recommend Playwright is a must. It's a game changer if it's in your resume. The interviewer, the tech interviewer from the very first line will start loving you. Like, I can work with Playwright TypeScript. I have made 5 projects. You can check my GitHub.
Yeah.
They will absolutely like it, this guy. The second thing, rest assured is still mandatory. There is no alternative for rest assured, I think, in the open source world. And how easy it is. It's like an awesome tool. If you know Playwright, I think you can do API automation, but you cannot maybe still compare it with rest assured.
Yeah. Probably
So rest assured,
Jest is
Java
something.
is definitely.
Yeah, I think like
Jest is something, but when you're using Playwright, I don't think you need Jest.
So it will be like automatically integrated. You can test the APIs automatically into the Playwright. You don't need external frameworks or rest assured or just anything else.
Yeah, you don't need anything. And I think that's recommended by Playwright developers, that if you want to take full advantage of Playwright, don't integrate it with Cucumber or Jest.
Yep, right.
Because then the test block from Jest will take over Playwright.
Exactly.
So yeah, rest assured you need, even today when you're applying, a Playwright and TypeScript. Playwright with TypeScript is the best combination.
Right.
And if you know Selenium with Java, definitely it would be like a very super easy for you to switch to Playwright. So they will also respect Selenium. It's not like we need Playwright, but you know Selenium. They also know that you can switch very easily to Playwright.
Exactly.
Those kind of things. And Cypress, I think, is still there. So even if you're a Cypress tester, you have same.
Okay. So like we have talked a lot about like what are the frameworks, or you can say what are the tools. So what about a bit of like CI/CD pipeline? So do they require those stuff like GitHub Actions or all those stuff, or probably it is more for the someone who is looking out for like lead role, or it varies how much experience do you have?
No, you can't say at this experience we are not expecting you to know CI/CD. We are only expecting you to know it after 5 years. No, there's not a thing like, unless you're very fresher. But if you're very fresher, you anyway have very lower chance to get a job from India and Germany. If you are somewhere around 5 years of experience, I think I can give you the entire tech stack that I think, in my humble opinion, that the entire tech stack that will always give you interview calls. Yeah, so the entire tech stack I think would be, if you already know Selenium, that is definitely still a thing. It's a very commonly known tool, very respected. If you know Playwright with TypeScript with Selenium, you get like maybe 20% extra marks. And these are enough for front-end automation. You don't need to know also Cypress. It doesn't make sense to know 10 tools. You can just say in interview, like, I already know Playwright, why you need Cypress?
Right.
So this is for front-end automation. Mobile automation, I already said, it totally depends on the job description, because usually there are not job description that talk about you should also do UI testing and you should also test mobile. Usually they dedicatedly hire a mobile QA, because that person is only taking care of applications on mobiles.
Yep.
So if you are a mobile tester, you have a strong chance to. Then you need test automation with APM. I don't think there is any alternative for APM that easily. Playwright is also not an alternative for APM, so you don't need to think about Playwright. And your tech stack for mobile tester would be Java APM. You should definitely know the knowledge of browser stack, Lambda test, or any remote browser provider, cloud provider. It's like definitely. It's not an optional thing, because I have seen in my 4 years, none of the company has ever used actual device. They don't care about actual device because they have really, like a 100K euro license
You
of
can't
browser
scale
stack.
it. Obviously, you can't scale
Yeah.
it. Like you can't have like thousands of real devices. And nowadays, when you have like long test suites, you need to run them in parallel, and you can't do that on a real device running on your like PC.
Yeah. And coming back to the point that we have already discussed, things are test centric. If I am a QA and I have 5 devices at my home, what would the developer do? Right?
Right.
So the remote work culture, I mean. So the thing is, and then we come back to API automation. You need rest assured with Java. That's a very, very industry famous thing. It's like
Yep.
very famous thing. I don't think nobody will judge you for this. API automation with rest assured. If you talk about QA, it's a full package now. The mobile testing is optional part. That's not mandatory part.
Yep.
Then we come back to this is the part where you design your test cases, right? How will you ship your test cases? Then you need the knowledge of Docker. If I'm going to share, let's say if you ask me, Akash, can you make a project on this is my sample website. I give you 3 days to automate this, 5 test cases only, 5 best test cases that you think, automate them, and we will review those test cases on 4th day.
Yep.
How will I ship these test cases to you? What is the best way? The first solution can be I can share a Git repo. I will write all the requirements in the README file that I use Java 23. And then you will think, okay, I don't know why you use Java 23, but my company is still on Java 22. I'm using JDK 22. If I'm going to upgrade, my existing projects might break.
Right.
And vice versa is also true. Let's say I use Java 17. You are using JDK 22, right?
Yep.
And then it doesn't compile. Of course, it won't compile because I might have used some features which are now partially breaking, right? Then you will not be able to run it. And it's not your fault. And it's also not my advantage. Either you go into the pom.xml and you change the JDK version. The second best option is ship as a Docker image.
Yep.
You just need Docker on your machine. If you're a developer, if you're a tester, you're going to review my code. There is a very fair chance you have Docker installed on your machine. You're working with your company. You just need to build the image, you run your test. You don't care what was the dependency inside it. So this is a definite must, Docker, how you ship your test.
Right.
Then the Jenkins part, how you build them, how you run them, how the stakeholders can easily see your test cases, how you share your reports. Then you run Jenkins and then share the reports on Slack. Best option. If you're using Microsoft Teams, you share them on Microsoft Teams. If you have browser stack, then you know how to integrate browser stack with Jenkins and how to share browser stack report with Jenkins on Slack. Right? This is like you don't need help here. The expectation is that you don't need help here.
Right.
It's always good if you ask for help. Nobody is gonna say, okay, we were expecting you to do all this, but this is not an unexpected, like a very exceptional thing. It's a very basic thing, right? You test, you automated, you integrated with browser stack for 5-6 parallel runs. Then you created a Docker image for this. Now you're going to run it on Jenkins. The reports from browser stack will be shared with the stakeholders over Slack.
Right.
Like it's start to end, right? And then GitHub Actions. So why GitHub Actions is required? Maybe developers doesn't care about this pipeline. They don't want to use it. They just pushed something, right? Now the mechanism starts again, but from the Git. The test start, they talk to browser stack, they come back to you, they share your report, right? So this is more likely the entire tech stack. You know how to automate, you know how to ship, and then you know how to collaborate
I think
with
like
those test cases.
that's a fantastic kind of like summary what you need when you are going to apply for that jobs, and it also summarize like how a QA work from end to end, how he start doing mostly into the automation part, how he start doing the automation of like different segments, how it will run onto your servers or machines, and how you can collaborate with other stakeholders to show them those reports. So that's a like entire end-to-end thing for automation. So of course, like now, suppose some our viewers have got an idea what are the things, what are the skills and then they need to like learn to apply for the jobs. So what are the like different, you can say, platforms of like searching those jobs, or you can say what is the process you have followed at your time to search for those jobs and apply to them which are into like Germany?
I think the best platform is still LinkedIn. It
Mm-hmm.
was still best 4 years, 3, 4 years ago. It still remains best because it's international. The by default LinkedIn is international. It's not localized.
Yep.
And if you're posting something on LinkedIn, it usually reaches to the wider audience. So
Yep.
the recruiters don't have to publish it somewhere specifically. LinkedIn will do it
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Like the entire
Yep.
world is gonna see that job opening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's still relevant and best. There are some localized platforms like Zing, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of a German LinkedIn. It like kind of a bit more expensive than LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I heard, like I have no fact check here, but when recruiters post job on Zing, they are more attentive because Zing charges
Okay.
for a, like for an idle job opening, they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
pay. So
Okay.
they try to close it and then suddenly remove it. But on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, you might see some job openings from 3 months ago, and they are kind of idle. Nobody's gonna respond on them. But when you're gonna perform your search, you might see an opening which was posted in December 2024, which I don't
Mm-hmm.
think is relevant anymore
Right.
because the year has closed. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to close your all the things before year end. LinkedIn is best. There is another website which is Stepstone,
Mm-hmm.
STEPSTONE, Stepstone,
Okay.
where you can find. The Stepstone has one good thing where it has a filter for language, like the filter for the job description.
Okay.
If you apply the filter for English, then you will only see jobs which are posted in English.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, from India, you can't apply for jobs which are posted in German because they will
Yep.
require German knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
If you already know German in India, it's totally fine. I'm not saying you cannot apply. If you have done some German course, you can apply on
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then Indeed, that's kind of also very common. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm going the priority. Like if I would do it again, I'll probably focus on LinkedIn first.
Okay. So these are the, you can say, platforms. So apart from it, what's more unique towards the like German interviews? So what kind of like things you can expect from a German interview with compared to someone like who is doing the interviews in India?
So the biggest difference is the German interviews mostly talk about you. They don't talk
Mm-hmm.
about the things that you can memorize.
Yeah.
Okay. Like like a very cliche questions from
Mm-hmm.
tech. They don't care about them because they know you can remind them, you can memorize them for 3 days before interview,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you will give score 10 out of 10 if they are going to ask those questions. So they talk about you. The biggest part I felt personally is your introduction in each round. In HR interview, there is a question very specific. Tell us about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you tell you about yourself in this, when you answer this question, this
Mm-hmm.
is your stage, right?
Right.
Whatever you want to talk about in the interview,
Mm-hmm.
you can throw those keywords in this monologue.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to talk about anything into the interview, don't throw those keywords in the monologue.
Okay.
And that's how you can, like navigate the entire interview.
Mm-hmm.
In India, I don't think HRs care about this monologue entirely because they
Yep.
have their own questions and they only
Mm-hmm.
care about them.
Right.
Have
Right.
you worked with Selenium for 6 years? No. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
-1.
Yeah.
In Germany, I don't think they are going to care about it.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is, like, as I said before, like they will check your vibes.
Mm-hmm.
They already know their team culture. I
Right.
mean, wherever you work, you have a project, you are working with the team, you know their culture. You
Right.
know what you can say in that team, and you know what you
Mm-hmm.
cannot say in that team, how comfortable
Mm-hmm.
you are with people, how uncomfortable around whenever you are with them. This
Mm-hmm.
is the vibe of a team, right? So
Right.
they check about your vibes. And there is no question about checking for vibes. Like, I can't say, okay, Manish, tell me about yourself so that I can see how fit you are with my vibes. There is no question like that, right?
Right, right.
There is every question indirectly checking those vibes. So if there is a question like, okay, you're working on a project on a Friday, entire team has a Friday evening plan. They want to leave early. Suddenly you realize there is a bug, but everyone else has left. They already talked to you in afternoon. They have really critical plans. Like you can't call them now. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna handle this? So why did they specify team? This question can be, how will you handle this situation if nobody is there to help you? They specify team because they want to know, would you bother them? Or do you care about their plans at all? Right? They told you they have plans. Do you care about them? No, I don't care about them. I'm just gonna call because there is a issue.
Issue.
Probably the guy will not
That's
like
what
it.
we do in India.
Yeah, they will not like it. They will say, why? I
Mhm.
mean, I told you I have a Friday evening plan. I left on my work hours. Why would you call me? And then you suddenly realize in interview, this went wrong. So
Right.
what would you do? So I will probably answer, I'll do everything from my side first, to fix the fire.
Yep.
And if I couldn't fix the fire, then I will have to shout. I can't let the office burn, right? I have to shout. So, but before shouting, the other person will ask, did you try everything? Did you try the fire extinguisher? Did you try the windows to open them? Did you try everything that we talked about when there is a fire? And then you will say, yeah, I did everything. The firefighter will like it, right? You did everything, you're out of help. But they will not like it. There was a small paper burning, I just called you.
Yep.
I couldn't even fix it. So there is no right answer to this question. There is only right vibes you are giving to them.
Right.
I would probably respect your plans. I will try my everything. And I mean, what else I can do? I have to call you. And the other person will feel your pain. Okay, yeah. I mean, man, you're stuck. Let me help you.
Sure.
So this is a vibe. You fit in the vibe. You respected somebody's Friday plan, and then you have to call. There is no
Right.
alternative. You had to call. So mostly
Exactly.
soft skills. In a nutshell, the keyword is soft skills. How you behave, how your behavior impacts team, how you drag people behind or how you lead them forward. It doesn't matter even if you're a QA engineer. I would definitely like to tell you, like I felt in some of my part jobs in India that QA is just part of the team for me. I mean, in my Indian experience, it was just part of the team. When I was here, I felt like you are not part of the team. You take the shots. You decide what you want. Do you like this? No. Okay, the developer will change it. And I was like, not with an argument. You don't even have to justify it. You just say, okay, this doesn't feel like fitting our product, and maybe we can do it better.
Yep.
So you call the shots, and that gives you, like, you're not only part of the team, you're indirectly leading it while you are not a lead. Right.
Yep.
For this, you need some soft skills. So
Right.
I think mostly they focus on your soft skills, how you can, like as I said, how you direct people, how you lead them. And they also care about tech skills. If I'm a really good speaker in the interview, I'm not going to get hired.
Yeah,
So
obviously.
So the tech skills are usually not, I mean, in QA, maybe in developers, they do live coding. If you will apply for Java developer, they will do live coding. If you will apply for front end, there would be questions which are like practical based. Like there are practical bottlenecks of every field, right? QA has its own practical bottlenecks. How do you fix them? Right. So those questions again talk about you. There was something like this in my project. Yeah, I agree. And I fixed it using this. But this question cannot be memorized because you don't know which bottleneck they're going to discuss.
Exactly.
So again, they're checking your experience. For the tech part, like for the 100% tech part, probably they will give you a tech task, a take home task, which has a bandwidth, which has a deadline for 5 days, which of course depends on company. If you submit it earlier, better, but it doesn't mean if you submit within a day, because there is a very good chance if you do it within a day, you will leave some bugs.
Right.
So 2-3 days is a sweet spot, because that gives them an impression that, okay, you are really good. You didn't just consume whole 5 days, because this wasn't that big of a task.
Right.
So that task matters. That's the immediate next thing after HR round. And in that round, they give you the freedom to decide your tool and language. But they also give you a hint. I mean, it's not general again. I got this in my first interview when I gave from India. They also give you a hint which tool they would like if you use.
Right.
But you also have freedom to use any other tool.
Got it.
So why they give you a hint? Because they might be using that tool.
So it's their tech stack, I think. Like they will tell you like these are the tech stack we are working on, and now it's up to you, like whatever you are choosing for this particular assignment.
Yeah, it can be their tech stack. It can be their POC. That means they might be checking
Yeah.
something, and they
Right.
want
Right.
to see if you are already good at that.
Mhm.
So their migration is gonna be easy if you're already good with
Right.
that. So yeah, so let's say they give you a website and they give you 3 test cases,
Mhm.
and then they will ask you to automate them, submit them in 5 days. Then you
Okay.
will see the task and they will feel like just 3 test cases for 5 days. I'm gonna do it within a second, because it's
Yeah.
just locating an element and clicking it and then etc. But this
Right.
is not they're actually looking for.
Mhm.
They are looking for how you will design the framework. Even for just one test case, if they give you, they need you to design the entire framework without even saying it. They won't say it, design the framework.
Right.
You can, of course, solve the problem within one single class and use a test ng test, look at all the elements, click submit, done. But they need a framework. And then in the end, they will write, okay, it would be really nice if you use Playwright, because it gives you a hint that they might be either doing a POC on Playwright, they have a plan to migrate. So it would give you an advantage if you use Playwright.
Right.
The next round after this would be your discussion. You have to explain this tag.
Okay.
And then all the soft skills start. Before this round, you will not talk to an actual person.
Okay.
Only HR will talk to you. Then you will get a tech task. If you clear the tech task, then you will all that will start that I discussed.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So now, like, let's talk about more of a growth. So if someone is like switching from India to Germany, what are the like growth or something like advantages he can expect from like a German culture or like being in Germany, whether it is into the like terms of salaries or like work life balance, so whatever like you think is kind of like an advantage for you when you are working right now into the Germany, and when you are like, comparable to when you are back into the India.
So I think initially you will feel like there is some salary difference, like a noticeable. I might not sure if it is still valid, but 4 years ago, maybe I think before COVID, Indian job market was
Yep.
like not so really awesome paying. After COVID, I felt you can make really good amount as a QA in India,
Yeah.
and given the life expectancy is not that expensive in India, you can live a really good luxury life. If you're making maybe 35 lakhs per annum. I mean, I'm talking about a senior person.
Yep.
I'm not talking about a fresher person. So if you're making that money, if your company also partially allows remote,
Yep.
that's a really good money in India, right? Even if you pay all the tax.
Yep.
I mean, I was casual saving tax in India. So if you're paying very casual tax, I forgot to do this, I forgot to that investment. Then you will also live really luxury life. Everything is super cheap.
Right.
I mean, I'm saying super cheap because you might be feeling like, oh no, it's not super cheap. Everything is now very expensive. But when you compare, the same salary from a Western country is very cheap in India.
Right. Right.
Except the things which are like imported, like an iPhone, that uselessly expensive. So When you compare it with Germany, then if you only think 100% about money, and if you have really, really good tech skills in India, like India is a competitive market. If you fail in an interview, it may not be because you were bad, maybe somebody was really good.
Right.
India is that kind of market where an IITian, an NITian, and a normal college student might be sitting in the same interview.
Right.
And the interviewer will have to choose. They are mentally forced to choose from one of the first two.
Exactly.
If the salary grade is same, if you're going to pay 40 lakhs, they might think mentally, okay, I'm going to go with the IITian.
Right.
But the third person has opportunities if they are really good skilled, like they are prepared for everything, then you're going to make really good money. I would recommend, if you're 100% thinking about money, and if you can make that much of money, which is really good in India, then I don't think you have to migrate.
Yep.
If you're not thinking 100% about money, if you're thinking maybe the way I thought, that whatever you have as money will always grow. Nobody's going to take it away from you. Money always grows with age. It always grows with experience by itself. By default, it grows. You're not asking your company, okay, if I'm not going to ask, they will not increase my salary. That's not like this. It always grows. You always grow in your skills. So this mechanism is usually going to happen by itself. What
Right.
else is that you cannot change, right? This thing will automatically enhance. If I do a certified course from a triple IT Bangalore about full stack Java developer, the money will grow. It's not going to go down, right? It will grow. But what else I cannot change is my surroundings. I can't change them.
Right.
The infrastructure of a country, you can't change it. The work culture, that will not grow. That will very slowly grow. It's like a crocodile. It might even decide not to even move.
Right.
Right? You can't change all of this. So if you want all of them to also grow, then probably you will have to shift your geolocation. In that case, if all that matters for you, like a peace of mind is your life. If you love peace of mind, you shut down your laptop, it's only gonna open tomorrow morning by itself. Not because you're holding yourself from opening it. If there is a manager call, I'm not gonna pick
Yeah.
it. I will tell my wife, just tell him I'm sick. No, nothing like this. You shut down at your laptop at 7, and all your time is off for you. You wanna game, you game. You wanna YouTubing, you wanna make videos. You wanna do any crazy stuff. You have all the time after
Right.
7, after 6, whatever your shift is. And we will talk about work tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you want this life, besides the money that will eventually anyway grow, then Germany is for you.
Okay.
Simple, um, in a simple comparison, I can tell you.
Yeah. I think like you have put it like very well. So what are the main advantage to moving to, you can say, Germany, or you can say more European countries? So I think like Germany have the like best work culture, but this is something which is more rooted towards the European work culture. They have something similar in parts, and if you also move to like London or Netherlands, they also have this kind of thing. You cannot bug someone when he's like out of office or into his like personal space. But in India, nowadays, like some, I don't say like every company or every team is same, but most of the people or most of the companies are going into that direction, but not into that like great work culture life what we see in our surroundings.
I can give you one, yeah. Yeah, I can give you just one example which I have seen when I moved Germany.
Okay.
The first time I worked on a Jira ticket, this was just basically a small API that you have to automate with retrofit. There is another HTTP client which is like a bit faster than rest assured. So I used it, and then I kind of finished the ticket within a day, or like maybe even before the day, because that was a very new ticket for me, the very first ticket for me. So I took really a good time to see all the test cases that I have covered, because that's gonna make your impression in your new company.
Mhm.
And then I finished it on the same day, and the next day in the stand up, I said, okay, in the daily call that I finished this, I can pick a new ticket. And then my
Mhm.
manager after that really pinged me. Let's have a call, dude. What are you doing? And I was like, what the hell I just did? And then he was like, why did you finish this ticket within a day?
Yeah.
And I was like, what was like the expectation, like half day? And then he said, no, the expectation is take your time, be chill. You are looking so serious about this ticket. We don't want you to be that serious. We are not fighting a war here. We are just a team. We are chilling
Yeah.
about our work. We make a good quality product, but we don't pressurize our employees.
Right.
So next time, take your time, chill. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're not gonna win an Olympic medal by finishing it in a day.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then
So.
next time I was like, okay, maybe I will take 2 days for the next ticket. But he was like, okay,
Mhm.
no, take one more day extra. Relax.
Right.
You're just onboarding. Why are you? And I think, okay, then you have to shift your tuning
Mhm.
from India to Germany.
Right.
So why wouldn't you want this life? So this is super chill. I mean, I'm not saying they are paying me half of India.
So this is something similar which also happened to me. So when I started my first remote job, so I was working with a US company during the sprint planning. So they are planning what will be the capacity of, are you taking any leave or something like that? And we have a like 2 week sprint, 10 days. So I told them like I have like full capacity. I'm not planning any leave. So probably like 10 working days. So they told me no one have like 10 working day exactly. So even if you are like working fully for 2 weeks, we will be assigning you the 6.5 days of like work, because there will be meeting, there will be sync ups, there will be annoying things which comes during your work, and you will not be like working every single day for 8 hours. So this is something like which we have kind of like thumb rule. We will just assign a 6.5 day work for a 10 days, you can say sprint planning, and that's kind of like a shocker for me. Like this is something new. We generally plan for 2 weeks and we plan for 10 days.
Yeah, but now the downside of this is when I think if I want to go back to India, I don't think it's that easy to switch back to that tuning.
Right. So same thing happened with me. One more thing, like I have also written a, you can say, LinkedIn post on it today. So in India, we have a culture of like showing yourself to the work. Like suppose
Yeah.
if you are working into the office, or either like you are working remotely, you need to showcase like you are working 8 to 9 hours in a day. Whether you are just working for like 3 to 4 hours of a productive work. When you goes to office, you took that chai breaks for every 15 time, 20, every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you go for walk. But you need to be there for like 8 hours, 9 hours. When you're working remotely, or I don't know about like what are the culture in Germany, or someone who is like working from office there. But for remotely, when I was working, so it's more about you don't need to show up for those 8 hours or 9 hours. Your work is what you deliver. It's not about like counting those hours or those time, like whether you have stayed online for those 9 hours and you have not delivered anything. Rather than you will be delivering those stuff, whatever like assigned to you in 2 3 hours, and then apart from it, you can take that time for yourself. You can read, you can improve that work, you can do code reviews, you can improve your skills also. That's also a part of your, you can say, office timing. But in India, you need to show up. Like your manager will be like looking at whether you are online onto the teams or not, even if you are like working remotely. And
Yeah.
if you are into office, you need to punch for those 8 9 hours daily.
Yeah, that's micromanagement.
Right. Okay,
That's
so
not a thing. I think maybe you can find something similar in US, but I don't think it exists in Germany.
okay, now like we have talked about how we can like progress the things into the like when someone is aiming for that German interviews. Now, can we put some light onto the like migrating process? What are the like visa process, and what are the documents which are required for someone? Suppose someone got the job and now they need to migrate. They need those like visa applications, all the documents, sponsorship, how it will work. So can you put some light onto that fact also?
So if you're coming on work visa, I mean, if you're trying to get a job upfront,
Mm-hmm.
not for a
Mm-hmm.
study visa, because you can also come and for study, then you can find a job in QA. Nobody's gonna stop you. But that's a totally different process. I'm not very familiar about that, but that's a easy ride, I would say.
Right.
For work visa, it's first thing you need is a company that sponsors your visa.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very common argument that okay, I'm gonna take care of my visa myself.
Mm-hmm.
I just need an offer from company. But that's not a thing. That's not how legality works.
Right.
If you can think like this, if somebody is gonna, if suddenly an Indian company wants to hire someone from Europe. So there is one thing that you are just hiring someone from Europe, that guy can take care of their own visa, right?
Yeah.
But there is another thing that Indian government would be concerned about it. Why are you hiring someone from outside India,
Exactly.
right? Are you not able to find someone in India or something?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have so many people looking for job. So that's a kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to fall in that category where the company will decide, okay, you are in the shortage category. People in this category don't exist too much. They are not in abundance.
Mm-hmm.
So those categories, IT is in that category. IT,
Okay.
I think is still right now, it is in that category. So you need a company that can sponsor your visa. Otherwise, you
Mm-hmm.
can keep on applying. Probably you will get all the time rejections. It's very clearly written in the job description that company will sponsor a visa. It's not that you will have to ask in the interview. If you get a call when you are in India, then that company will sponsor visa. That's simple.
Right.
As simple as that. So then there is two different kind of visas. One is simple work visa, and the second type is blue card, which is for all the third countries for Germany. If you're coming from
Okay.
any country which is in, let's say if you're coming from Middle East, if you're coming from
Mm-hmm.
India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, if you fulfill the criteria for blue card, you will always get blue card. The first priority is to give you a blue card. If you somehow don't fulfill that category, they will still hire you with a work visa.
Okay.
So for blue card, the condition in India is that your institute from wherever you have done your graduation,
Mm-hmm.
or if you have done a professional master's degree, it must be identified. It must be
Okay.
recognized by German government. So there is a
Okay.
database, ANABIN, ANEBIN. You just Google it. It has all the institutes which are
Mm-hmm.
recognized by Germany.
Mm-hmm.
You just search your college name. I think the website is in German, but still, if you can search to use the Google Translator or something, if you
Mm-hmm.
search your college name, if it is there, that means your college is identified, recognized. Second, your degree must be recognized. If I have done some degree which is not mentioned in this database, then it is not recognized by Germany. When any of these, your college or your degree is not recognized in this database, then the process changes to a bit complicated situation, not to an impossible situation. Like there would be more bureaucracy.
Okay.
So then the embassy will tell you you need these ZAB certificate or something, that you have to apply for this. And then there's an authority in Germany that sends you some approvals. Okay, now you can apply for visa. But you will not get blue card in this case. You will get a
Okay.
work visa, which is not a blue card.
So what's the difference between this blue card and work visa?
So work visa is like you can work in Germany, and
Okay.
it might be linked with the company that is sponsoring you,
Mm-hmm.
right? For a certain time, you cannot change your job. You will
Mm-hmm.
have to take permission from immigration office before changing your job.
Okay.
And because your company's name is kind of linked with your visa, so
Mm-hmm.
you get some, like situation where you will decide, okay, now I'm going to work for a certain time with them, even if I don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
Then you change your company after immigration approves.
Okay.
Second thing, with work visa, you can't suddenly decide to switch to France. If I tomorrow want to switch to France, I can go on blue card, but not on work visa.
Okay.
On work visa, I'm not saying that you can't travel in France. You can travel in on the all the Schengen area, but you can't relocate. If you want a job in
Got it.
Paris, it's not gonna be possible. That it's not gonna be that easy. Paris, I mean, they will do some process again from scratch for you. On the other side, yeah, and the another point is when you will staying in Germany for longer time, switching to PR from work visa has different conditions, like a slight tough conditions. Not tough conditions, like you might have to learn German language for a certain level.
Okay.
Then they will give you a PR. But these rules, they always keep on changing. So what I might be talking it, if you suddenly check on website, you will find, okay, something has changed what he's saying.
Okay.
If you have on the other side blue card, you can work in the any European country you want. You can tomorrow, if you don't like Berlin and you went to Rome, you decide, okay, now I want a job in Rome. So you can on blue card, you can apply. When you're switching to PR, it would be easy for blue card person. The another advantage is if you have your spouse, and when you relocate with your spouse on blue card, it's very easy for them. On work visa, your spouse might need to know some German or something, but on blue card, they don't need to know anything.
Got it.
So in a nutshell, it's like a American Express Platinum card, blue card. You can buy anything, no limits. Like go any country, just swipe it.
Yeah. Okay. So also, like, how important is it to like know the German specifically to if someone is looking for the QA roles, or is it like necessary? Is it like you need it for the like intermediate level, or you can just work with English initially, or later on you can like work on German, or is it like you don't require German at all?
So initially, I think when we were discussing the application process, we talked about it that when you're applying from India, if job description is in English, you can apply. Now we have also talked about the visa thing. So the next point is your job description should have two checks. First, it should be in English. Second, it should have the visa sponsorship keywords.
Yep.
If it has both, then take your time. Take your time to apply on this one. Maybe I'm not saying take your time. That means take 3 days. Take 1 hour dedicated to just apply, because this is the golden company. If you mess with this application, you are not going to find this combination very easily again. But coming back to the language, when you're applying from India, the job description is in English, then probably that company will not ask you German. They will not require German when you're working in day-to-day life. That means the company is hiring from outside Germany. It has an international culture, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would they hire someone who doesn't know anything about German or German culture? So they have an expat culture. That's why they're hiring someone from outside. When you are in Germany, if somebody is watching this video, they are already in Germany, then there is a 50-50 situation.
Okay.
First of all, you don't need visa sponsorship keyword. You just need English job description.
Right.
Then you can apply anywhere. When you're applying, if you target English job description, then it also limits your opportunities, right? Because first of all, I think Berlin is the target for every English-speaking person. It is the most international city in Germany. You can survive in Berlin without knowing German. You can live forever in Berlin without knowing German.
Okay.
But you may not in other cities. So that's kind of limits. So you left your entire country, and then now you're just limited to Berlin, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest advantage of learning German, that you get access to the whole country. You get access to the entire German job market. All the countries which are localized, which are like, like Deutsche Bahn, the German railway. You can also apply there.
Yep.
I can also apply in Deutsche Bank. I think Deutsche Bank has 50-50 now. They also have international culture. But I think I'm just giving you an idea that the company which is 100% German, like very hardcore German speaking company, you can also apply there if you know German language. That means you're opening up your chances. And from the earning point of view, your salary would be higher if you are working in if you know B2 C1 German level, and if you apply in a company which is totally speaking German, you can ask for higher salary. That's a financial advantage of knowing German.
Got it, got it. And what's like kind of like day-to-day expenses or kind of like cost of living in Germany? If someone is like planning, if he have a like number or figure in his mind that he's getting from the, you can say, company. So what's a day-to-day life, or you can say cost of living for a single month looks like in someone who is like living in Germany, and he can target for like if he's getting like that much of salary per month in his pocket, then it will be like bit easy for him or her to stay into the like Berlin or like similar cities into the Germany.
So for, first thing about salary is like I think I forgot to mention it during the discussion of Blue Card. First thing about salary is when you are applying from India, there is a minimum range your company has to give you. They can't
Okay.
decide lower than that. So the minimum range for, let's say, Blue Card right now is somewhere around maybe 52 or something, maybe 55 or 52,000 euros per year. They have to give you minimum. Like that's the worst case if company decides to give you just 52,000, because that's the minimum for Blue Card. That's the worst case. I think that would be a bit, like lower standard for them to do if they do it. So they will give you anything over that. They can't give you lower than that. That's legally not possible for them. They will not be They will not be able to sponsor your visa, a Blue Card visa.
Right.
And as I said before, the German government wants you to have Blue Card visa. It's not a luxury. Like you earned it. They want you to have it.
Right.
It's their first approach. Give this person a Blue Card. So, of course, you cross that salary level. On top of that, your company has its own standard that we don't pay lower than this, right? So let's combine both of them, and let's say somewhere you start at 60,000 or 65,000 euros when you're applying from India. Same applies when you are in Germany. If you are an immigrant, you apply for a company, the Blue Card condition stays same.
Right.
They will have to pay that salary still, even if you are in Germany, it doesn't matter. And then company's own standard. If you're completely fresher and if you are in Germany, that's the only situation. I think that is the only situation where you're very fresher and you are in Germany, then you can get a job. You probably will not get job from India, because even people with 10 years of experience will apply for the same job. They just want to go to Germany, right?
Right.
So it's very hard for you. It's not because you are not eligible, because it's very hard for you to filter that line.
Right.
So in that case, you might even start somewhere around for 50,000 euros. So for the sake of this discussion, let's take a round number of 60,000 euros.
Right.
This is your starting salary. Let's say you have 5 years of experience. Okay, and you move to Berlin. So your before tax salary is 5,000 euros, which is really good salary. It's not bad salary. It's a good salary. You can live a really good lifestyle with that salary in Berlin. Now, I would suggest first thing to you do, if you have this salary, if you take a studio apartment, the studios are cheaper for you to afford, and you don't know all the things about the German culture, how people live with each other. So instantly sharing it with someone might give you some shocks.
Yep.
So start with a studio, get to know the city, get to know the country, 6-8 months, then switch to a bigger apartment. If you really need bigger apartment, because that's going to be expensive. 5,000 euros you got a studio, maybe 700 euros or 600 euros for really good studio. No, don't compromise on your luxury. You came to a country for, like having some experience. So don't compromise too much. I will again say, money is going to grow.
Yep.
So if you start cutting again on money, it's anyway going to grow. So then you have somewhere around, let's say, roughly 4,300 euros for you, which is again before tax. Then out of 43, somewhere around 40% your tax will be deducted.
Mhm.
So we can also deduct tax from 6,000 euros, right? So like maybe
Yeah.
roughly 2,500 euros will be deducted.
Mhm.
You got what? 3,500 euros. Then from that 700 euros went to your apartment.
Mhm.
So that's 2,700, 2,800 euros in your hand.
Mhm.
2,800 euro, 800 euros. If I do the conversation while I am with you on this call, it would be
So in starting we had around like 5k euros. Then after taxes it would be around like 3k. And if 700 go, it will be
no,
like
after taxes it
2200.
would be around 3,500.
Okay.
After tax it should be around 3,500.
Mhm.
And then you deduct your apartment 700 to 800 euros,
Okay.
which I'm talking a totally studio. If
Right.
if you fortunately find someone to share an apartment in beginning, you might even end up
Mm.
just paying 400 euros, which is
Wow.
super amazing if you find someone to share.
Right.
So your in-hand salary after this 700 euros apartment and tax
Mhm.
would be
Mhm.
around 2,50,000 as per the conversion rate of today.
Sure.
Uh, in that from that 2,800 euros, now you have to spend your daily life.
Mhm.
Let's say, I would say for a single person, if you go to grocery store like weekly, you buy
Mhm.
milk, meat, chicken, all that stuff, eggs and all that, like really good stuff. You're not cutting on anything.
Mhm.
Then after this, maybe even if you spend like clubbing, bars,
Mhm.
partying and all that thing in Berlin, because that's what Berlin is for, you
Yeah.
spend 1,000 euros. Let's say I give you the best
Mhm.
1,000 euros for yourself, just for yourself, nothing else. End of the month, you have 1,800 euros, right?
Mhm.
Let's do plus minus 300,
Mhm.
right? Let's roughly make it 1,500 euros. So 1,500 euros is what, like
So it
one
will
lakh
be, I think so.
35,000.
Yeah, one like 35, 40,000 kind of stuff.
Yeah, 1,35,000. If you decide to send this money to India, to your
Mhm.
parents, right?
Mhm.
Then it will be
That's
like
like
15 lakh,
good,
16
good,
lakh
good
maybe.
money. If we compare it to like savings, what we have like if in India or something like that, and even when you are living a kind of like a bit of luxury life, when you compare it to someone who is doing, obviously you don't have like that much of things like domestic help and all those stuff, but the quality of life, the way you are living it, a bit onto the higher side when you stays it to the Berlin.
Yeah, it's like it's somewhere around 16 lakhs. If you
Mhm.
don't send it every month, I have not
Yeah.
done this. I have not sent money to India much. But
Mhm.
based on my experience, what people do, they save and they wait for euro to go up and then
Mhm.
they send.
Then,
So this 16 can be 17, 1650 based on the price of euro. But what my point is not this 16 lakhs. I don't care about this
Mhm.
money. I care about the 1,000 euros just that you just spent on yourself.
Right, right.
If you spend 1,000 euros just on yourself in
Mhm.
Berlin, then
Mhm.
you can't replicate that in India.
Yeah, exactly.
You will have to, you're like living really good life.
Mhm.
And if you decide not to spend 1,000 euros on you, if you spend, let's say, 600, then you
Mhm.
can add 400 extra into that savings.
Yep.
And if you can again find apartment which is sharing with the, yeah. So if the apartment is shared with 2 3 people, then you can cut that price from 700 to 500.
Mhm.
So again, your
Mhm.
savings would be somewhere around there, more than 2,000 euro.
Yeah, I think like
So
that's a
it
great
totally
thing, and
depends.
that's also into the like initially we have just taken up the like CK. That's someone who is like 5 year experience or something like. But if he is like working on to the lead position or probably a QA manager or engineering manager, that can go up to like a much higher stake when we compare to like what we have
Yeah.
like done now.
Yeah. That will go up to much higher stake, but your luxury for self will still remain
Mm.
1,000 euros. Because if your
Yep,
salary goes up, you suddenly won't decide to do something extra, right? You're already
exactly.
doing so many things with 1,000 euros. It's like
Mhm.
If I can think I can spend 1,000 euros today in Berlin, I don't
Mhm.
think I can. But I'm giving you the best shot of your life. Like, do whatever you want. Crazy stuff. You saw that thing people take doing in that XYZ place, it takes 200 euros, and I want to do it. Just
Mhm.
do it.
Mhm. Yep.
So for a month, just do it. Just do everything that you want to do for a month or two, and then you
Mhm.
see how much you ended up saving. So
Yeah.
do you want to continue with this way? And you still ended up
Mhm.
saving quite a good amount of money, like 15 lakhs, which is good for you. And then you decide, okay, now this is my life.
Mhm.
I live everything that I want to do. I
Mhm.
saved and I enjoyed. If you suddenly think, okay, no, this was too much, then cut down.
Mhm.
Then your savings is gonna go up. So this is what I did initially when I came. I mean, what's the point of leaving your entire country, family, relations, people behind, and then again living
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna also
Yeah,
save
exactly.
this. I'm gonna also save that. Then why did you come here? What's the point?
I agree with you. Agree. Okay, I think like we have discussed a lot in this. So now it's time for our rapid fire round. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions. You just need to give me the answers. I don't want like that explanation and all the stuff behind it. Just a like single sentence or a single word for the answer. Okay, so what's the biggest cultural shock moment when you arrived into like Germany?
I think it was people are too straightforward, too straightforward
Okay.
and too open.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. And second is what's your favorite German food? Do you like it?
I don't think there is something like German food. It's mostly red meat.
Mm-hmm.
There is this cheese noodles.
Okay.
They are German. They are like replica of mac and cheese, like
Okay.
equivalence of mac and cheese.
Okay. So next is what is like first thing you have Googled about Germany when you started your journey to like look forward towards moving to the Germany? And so what is the first thing you have Googled?
I think maybe I googled the cost of living when I first started. I think maybe I don't even remember.
Okay, so and the
Yeah.
last one, what is the like one thing that you miss it in Germany, which you liked or like loved it into the when you were into the India?
The speed of things, the way is
Mm-hmm.
anything you request in India. I mean, except the government process. I mean, just for my personal life. If I want to go somewhere, I had my own car. Those
Mm-hmm.
kind of things. I am. It takes planning here. You can't just randomly go somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's great. And so now I want some closing thoughts. What are the like mistakes you have done when you started, you can say, doing all this process from moving India to Germany? Or generally people make when they go on this transitioning process? And would you like to highlight some those mistakes and how someone can avoid those things?
I think I may not say what generally people might do wrong, but the first
Mm-hmm.
thing that you might be doing wrong is you don't know exactly what you want to apply for, or maybe if you're
Mm-hmm.
very randomly applying, if you're not
Mm-hmm.
yet sure, then
Yep.
at least prepare your resume. Even if you're
Mm-hmm.
not sure, don't casually apply with the resume,
Mm-hmm.
with a very random resume. Use the exact
Yep.
German template. They have a
Mm-hmm.
very predefined template. They expect you to at least do that much effort. Even if, when you're applying from India,
Mm-hmm.
it's totally fine. You don't know about German culture. You don't know about how they behave, how they talk. That's acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do some effort in knowing how they prefer behave, how they talk, that gives you an
Mm-hmm.
advantage. That makes you
Okay.
a bit more professional. That you are actually here for you applied for something. You are not just casually wasting your time, and you're also not wasting someone else's time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're very casually, just suddenly you after let's say watching this video, you thought, okay, this looks intriguing. I'm gonna apply. Then
Mm-hmm.
at least prepare the resume. There is no such thing like I'm gonna randomly apply, and then
Right.
all the rejection, you decide, okay, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think people get job from India because you didn't even give 10% effort.
Yep.
So don't think people don't get jobs from India. They get, but they do some initial homework. So it's
Mm-hmm.
good if you do some homework. After that, all the mistakes you will get to know by yourself. Like if you messed up in HR round, you will know, okay, this was bad. Those things will follow. But initially, resume is really game-changing thing. You should definitely make a good resume and definitely make it single page. It's 100% possible. I can make a resume single page even if I have 15 years of experience. So don't believe it's not possible. Nobody have that much time to read your 2 pages of resume, right? They also have if a recruiter is reading it, they will probably read for 15 days. If you multiply the number of applicants and 2 pages, how many days the person is going to read it? Even if the ATS is going to scan it. If ATS is going to scan it, you definitely don't need 2 pages. You just need 1 page, keyword-rich resume.
Right.
So the initial mistakes would be, first, decide what you want. Do you want a culture plus money plus access to entire Europe? You want to travel? You have priorities to travel, like Forrest Gump. You want to see the world. Then decide seriously, sit back, make a resume. Don't waste your effort on applying randomly.
Right.
If you are shooting in a room with lights off, you might still hit bullseye, but that has nothing to prove. You can't make a story out of it. It just happened randomly. So you have to prepare. There is a lot of pre-production work, and then the process is very smooth.
Yeah. So I think like we have got a lot of information. If someone who is like pretty new and trying to switch their, you can say, base from India to somewhat in Germany, most probably Berlin, the best option. And what are the initial steps? You have elaborated is very well. So I think like thanks for it. Thanks for taking your time, Akash. And it's been a like pleasure talking to you. And I personally, I have learned a lot of things. If I want to relocate to Germany, most probably I have gotten kind of like a roadmap and I can start working on that part and probably it have helped our viewers a lot. So thanks for your time. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it was, I think, really something, this kind of thing I have done it very first time, but I really enjoyed it. It's really good to give back to community. And I think I might have left one point, which is very cliche. Maybe somebody will ask in the comments, do we require data structure and algorithms? So no, you don't require. You don't require DSA.
So probably this is the questions we have looked a lot onto mostly onto the LinkedIn. Do we require DSA for the QA? Do we require the DSA for product based company? So it's kind of like a favorite question for the people to ask for any kind of like job openings, whether it's related to like Germany, whether it's related to product based companies. They just love to ask like whether it is required to get the DSA thing.
Yeah, you don't need to reverse a string to get a job in Germany.
Right.